Hello and welcome to this edition of Finance and Technology Insights. I'm Brian Williams.
I'm Eric Bjorndorf, CEO of Evernet Consulting. How's it going, bud?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's been a little while since we've been on here, so
I'm a little rusty. I'm making sure that we're recording because we've fallen victim of that before, and we're doing the local recording, so that's all good, right?
Yep, that's
good. I just asked you in the green room, but my audio is good.
Yep, sounds pretty good.
So my wife has. So where do I begin? And I don't mean to hijack this, but my wife has this habit of moving furniture. And the kids' room, she's always moving around. The living room, she's always moving around. Every room, she's always moving around. During COVID, my office used to be on our ground level, on our first floor in the front room, and it was wonderful. I was very comfortable. I was like, that's where I was gonna die in that space, which is this space, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, my wife, who's an attorney at Lego, she had an 80-20 hybrid work split, 80% in the office, 20% at home pre-COVID. Then of course COVID happened, and so she comes home and she just could not find, I don't know if you remember that or not, but she just could not find her comfort space. She was upstairs, she was downstairs, she was in the living room, she was in the den, the playroom. She was just orbiting. And then at one point she's like, I need your office. I was like, okay, well, look, I'll move my office downstairs, which we have a finished basement and it's lovely. It's fine. But there's no windows,
right.
And I've talked about this, but so I was downstairs, and our audience who's been with us since the beginning will remember that I was downstairs. And then I got the standing desk and I put it in the living room, and I like standing, so I have some blood flow. But anyways, long story short, she gave me my office back.
Oh, wow. All right. Now, is that because she's spending more time in the office or
I would say she's back. She's probably 50-50. And it's kind of weird because with summer, she does get a little extra time at home during the summer just for logistics and the kids and things like that. But Lego's moving to Boston, and she'll probably go to like a 70-30 in the office. So she'll be commuting to Boston from Hartford, probably over the next 12 months or something like that.
Wow.
But no, she actually turned the kids' playroom, which we call the den. It's once upon a time, it was like a 3-season porch, I think, when they did the addition to our kitchen. I don't know if you've been here, but they finished that, and that was the kids' playroom, kind of craft room, do anything room. And then as the kids are getting older, so they're making more, the messes are kind of different, less slime and crayons, and now it's smaller, easier to manage. So that's transitioning into like the kids' TV room and lounge, and she has an office. She put a desk in there, and she's been in there for now, I guess maybe the past year or two. And then I kind of, not that anybody cares, but when she moved out of here, we turned this into the guest room for a year.
Okay.
But we've been in this house for 7 years and nobody's ever slept in it. So
right. I
was like, listen, I'm tired of being in the living room. You're comfy over there. Let's just get rid of the guest room again. I want my office. I don't want to be in the basement. I like natural sun. You know what I mean? I like sunlight. I spent a good amount of money outfitting most of our windows with IKEA smart blinds. And though they automatically on our schedule to, like, the house just lights up with natural light in the morning, and then at 8 o'clock the house shuts down, gives us our privacy. So I'm kind of psyched about it, if that's not obvious.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, it's nice to have the natural light. I think, if you go back to like early pandemic, I was one that was like, I was work from home before, but I like the idea of sometimes like working in the kitchen and doing like different places, especially if you're not something where you need the multiple monitors or recording something. Sometimes it was just fun to just be like, all right, I'm grabbing my laptop and picking a room and let's just see where I end up. But I'm doing that less and less now, spending a little more time in the office. To your point about being in the basement, one thing that's nice is it's nice and cool down in the basement. At least ours is. So in my office, it's a nice office, it's a good size office, but it's above the garage and it's kind of at the end of the air conditioning run. So I get kind of whatever's left here. So it can get pretty warm, especially if because the garage gets hot because obviously there's no air conditioning in there.
Right.
So it
Yeah,
can
they call it the ROG, right? The room over the garage.
yeah. So
Um,
it's connected to the house and everything, but yeah, there'll be some times in the afternoon where it's like, all right, the air conditioning's running nonstop. There's no reason for me to be upstairs in this hot office. So same thing. We have the finished basement, so I'll just go down there. We have a nice like kind of high bar, like tabletop down there. So it's pretty nice down there. But
I historically was kind of a stickler for my computing environment. So I don't know if you've seen my office. I have downstairs. I have 6 22-inch monitors on this really robust framing, and I've got a nice wraparound desk, and it's really a great workspace. It's a Windows PC. And kind of, I was real, I kind of get like in my workflow and I don't like to change it too much. And I was not a really strong work from laptop kind of person. And then I finally, I think last year I bit the bullet and I purchased my first laptop, I think maybe ever, or maybe in like 10 or more years. And I bought a MacBook Pro, and man, I just love it so much. It really is just such a premium piece of hardware. And then I bought the standing desk because I got tired of standing, and now I have the really clean setup. I've got a 22-inch Dell widescreen next to me here, and it's just one plug, USB-C, plugs it in. It runs great. So I'm I'm transitioning from this like elaborate sit down broad, a lot of screens to the 2-screen setup. And it has its changes, but it's really working out for me. But what that's done is it's lent itself to, I think we did a podcast from my back deck one day. And then I think we did one from the podcast studio downstairs. So giving me a little flexibility. So changes abound.
No, definitely is fun to mix it up a little bit. Yeah, I haven't taken advantage as much of the outside working lately. Same sort of thing. I'm on an old laptop too, which works really well. So it's at that point where it still works, or it's like I don't need it, but and it gets beat up a little bit because I take it to meetings and sometimes participants are using it. So I'll, allow them to log into their accounts or to check other things. So it gets beat up a little bit, but it's basically got like almost no battery life left. So kind of have to plug it in at all times, which sometimes a client's house is not great, but that's on the list probably by the end of the year. I'm a Microsoft guy, so it'll probably be another Surface, either the Surface Pro or the Surface laptop, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
so that's a good lead in, probably, right? We can get into our real stuff. So
yeah, you want to get to the news? What the people came here for? What's going on?
Yeah, so so you sent me some notes. They're pretty similar to my notes. I think it's been like 3 weeks, right? We haven't done.
Yeah, I was just going to do a little personal background check for the viewers out there. You and I took the last 2 weeks off. 2 weeks ago, we took the family to Ocean City, New Jersey, which, by the way, I don't know if you've ever been there, is just such a fun place for families.
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
I have not.
So do you remember what was the hurricane that wiped out New Jersey with Chris Christie? Was that Irene or Sandy?
Yeah, Sandy, the superstorm Sandy. That was the November one. Yeah.
Almost every building in the community is brand new.
Okay.
I mean, it's like real modern, new kind of beach house duplex kind of construction. It's a golf cart community. It's a real beach cruiser bike community. They say they're self-proclaimed family vacation capital of the world, which they don't have bars, and it's the what do they call it? The shore, the Jersey Shore,
Right.
technically, but it's not really the Jersey Shore. It's so cool. It's got a long multi-mile boardwalk with arcades and candy stores and pizzerias and fried everything, and then like repeated like carnivals with big go-karts and Ferris wheels and everything. And then of course the beach. The beach is actually really nice. I mean, it's long. It's kind of like Daytona Beach or Myrtle, maybe, if you've ever been there. It's just like real long, fluffy, clean sand that transitions into the Atlantic Ocean, and the water was tolerable.
Okay.
So my wife booked us a place right 1 block away from the beach, which was fantastic. So we were able to walk to food. We walked to the beach. We walked to the carnivals. The kids absolutely loved it. So that's what we did 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And then the next week, you were what?
Yeah, we were away. So we went Wednesday to. We go Wednesday to Wednesday. No, I guess we went Wednesday to Tuesday, or no, I guess Tuesday afternoon to Tuesday. So Luke had gone to a full day of his preschool. He's still doing that all summer. So we picked him up at about 3:00 and then drove up to where my mother's at in the Southern Adirondacks. And we have a little camp up there that we go to. And so he had a lot of grandma time. So that was good. He probably spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights there. A couple nights he likes to stay with us, but he stayed there, got to stay up way later than we would allow, but it's grandma's house, grandma's rules.
That's cool.
So they were up late looking for fireflies. That's his big thing. Loves looking out the window at the fireflies. So there's a nice public beach up there that he spent a lot of time in. Pretty much every afternoon we were going there. Some days he didn't even go in the water. He's just, kind of in that sandcastle mode. So he's doing a lot of that and digging and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we had a really good time up there. And it gave us a break. I mean, we're usually not, I mean, we've good or bad never had like a babysitter. We just always like doing stuff with him or whatever, which probably isn't 100% healthy all the time. So, it was good to just drop him off and have some good grandma time. We went to the movies, did a couple things that we don't get a chance to do around here. So that was
How long is that drive for you guys? 2.5?
It's a little over 3 hours.
Oh, it's over 3. Okay.
So it works out well because it's like a good like afternoon or after work kind of thing, especially if it's during the school year and my wife's teaching or whatever, and she's out at 3, and if I'm hanging around till the market closes at 4, we can be up there a little bit after 7. So it's a good way to kind of sneak an extra day in, like sometimes you don't want to drive at the end of the day, but then you wake up and you're there.
Yeah.
So works out pretty well.
Good. Now, normally we cover a little bit of business news. Do you have anything developing or any new projects or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is the Schwab and the TD merger. I think which is kind of interesting because I think they've done.
I'm a victim of, by the way. I'll disclose that.
Yeah, right. So we got even on the personal side, when I log into my account on the TD side, it says X amount of days until your account converts to Schwab, and they've done a good job of I think letting clients know, and some of that's the advisor's role too. And then on the Schwab side, it's kind of interesting. So I've got what they consider like master accounts. So that's like the umbrella where clients' accounts are attached to. So I've got the regular Schwab master. So I had business on both sides of the account of the table. I worked with Schwab, I worked with TD. So my legacy Schwab accounts are under one master, but even though it's still, I don't know what, 38 days out or whatever the alert is, they've got that second master that lists all my TD accounts, no holdings or no positions yet. The money's still at TD, but they've shown, I can look at, all the client information there as far as like date of birth, address, all that kind of stuff. So I know that that's there, and I've gone through that and checked that, which is nice. So then it's just a matter of moving the positions. So that'll all happen.
Are they not moving the positions automatically?
They will. Yeah, they will.
Oh,
okay. They'll move over Labor Day.
Because I think I guess I'm not on the managed account, but I'm pretty sure that I'm I'm already migrated over to the Schwab account, but my TD account is I think is kind of, sorry, I'm getting I'm getting all fire message here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I could just stay. So they're moving probably some of the individual accounts ahead of time and maybe kind of testing that out. But on the advisor side, I think it's primarily going to be during Labor Day. And they had a little security thing, which we could talk about too. But so that's been pretty exciting for me to be able to watch the new accounts appear on the other side and get all that kind of stuff straightened out. There's certain features I like at TD and like at Schwab, so hopefully they can figure out and end up with the best common denominator there. So that's pretty good. But how about you on the
sorry about
business side?
that. This is so embarrassing. Try to fill the dead air. There's just a small incident.
Yeah. So business wise on that, so on the first half of the year, I think what's interesting is the market has been very top heavy. I don't know if you've heard the phrase the Magnificent Seven. That seems to be what people are using. That sort of replaced the term FANG, but the idea is the top performing and the biggest holdings of the S&P, even though the S&P is 500 stocks, it's these 7 stocks that have really been driving the performance of the whole market. So for people who are, kind of anti-tech or maybe didn't have those in their portfolio, they're looking at it and they're saying, well, I thought the market was up a lot this year. Why am I not up as much as maybe I thought I was supposed to be? So that's kind of been an issue. FANG was always, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And it was always those 5 stocks that were, driving the market that people were talking about. And because I said Google, my phone thought I was talking to it. So I'm getting that.
I'm getting text and you're the smart speakers are coming up.
Yeah. And now it's the Magnificent Seven, which is NVIDIA, Meta, which is Facebook, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft.
Oh wait, so FANG is no longer the darling; it's now the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. So now you're seeing the Magnificent Seven phrase, but it's that Magnificent Seven that's really driven the market. And what happens is the weight of those 7 stocks has become such a significant portion of the S&P 500. So that's something to keep an eye on. And a lot of people who didn't maybe have those stocks are underperforming a little bit. So NVIDIA has obviously been the first half darling with all the AI and all that sort of stuff.
Right, NVIDIA is riding high for sure, right?
Yeah, yep. The gaming chip. They started as the gaming chip, right?
Right. All right. So, sorry,
business-wise. Yeah, business-wise, what's going on with you?
Oh, business-wise with us. Yeah, I'd probably say a little bit of wash, rinse, repeat. Enjoying some operational maturity with our new. We launched a full service digital marketing line of business. So that's well underway and that's doing well. We're trying to bring this thing called compliance as a service to our clients in the market, where we can. There's actually a whole. I don't know how new it is, but it's on our radar now. It's basically this management software that a business can run that tracks their compliance for their whatever regulation or security framework that they're beholden to, like PCI DSS, HIPAA, NIST, ISO 27000, that sort of thing. So the software allows you to really kind of plug in all of your intel, your data, and the parameters of your business and corporation, and it really just kind of holds your hand through the compliance, and then it generates corresponding reports or anything you need like that. So, we manage our clients we follow NIST cybersecurity framework pretty closely. Most of the frameworks say much of the same thing, so it's really not it's not reinventing the wheel a lot of times, but there's a little more depth and a little more specificity to the respective stand. Like ISO 27000 is a standard. NIST, for example, is a guideline. It's not compulsory. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and then HIPAA follows closely the NIST cybersecurity framework. So, anyways, there's a software that helps us manage that. It's called Compliant. We're calling it Compliance as a Service. It's a little more expensive than I wish it was, unfortunately. So it's kind of proving to be a tough show of value to some of our clients, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so that's kind of new with us.
Okay.
What else? That's pretty much it for these days.
Yeah. So that, I'm sorry, is it HIST or NIST or
NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, I think.
So is that a stricter standard than, let's say, HIPAA, or just different?
It's different. HIPAA is a regulation issued by the Fed. As it pertains to the handling and the security and privacy of health medical records. And then even then, it's only as it pertains to what they call covered entities, which are healthcare providers and business associates that service healthcare providers. So even that kind of is a narrow scope. But HIPAA uses language like follows the NIST cybersecurity framework for the basis of its regulatory imperatives.
Okay. So relating it back to we're talking about Schwab and TD. So they had a little breach that they
Right.
announced, and that was through the.
There's our segue.
Yeah. So my question on that was, so this wasn't. They labeled this as a breach resulting from vulnerabilities found in the MoveIt file transfer software, which apparently everybody seems like uses it, because everybody came out with, I can't say everybody, but a significant number of people in financial services use this MoveIt file transfer software. So when the breach isn't necessarily to the company itself, but maybe something that they use as part of their software or package, how do you recommend companies handle talking about that? Or if it's a bigger company, obviously doing a press release or something. But ultimately, I'm just talking about like the derivative of going down the line. If you use a software and then that software uses another software and then that software uses somebody else, and then there's a security breach on that level, how far up the chain should it go before somebody reports that? Or as if it's like 2 companies away, we don't report it? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we're in the environment now where cybersecurity compromises are so commonplace that the stigma is largely reduced from years in the past. Not completely gone. There still is a brand impact to reputation when a significant and newsworthy security breach happens. But that being said, mature and robust companies like TD and Schwab, they certainly have enough market dominance and market cachet that they can, and quite frankly, they're obligated to make transparency reports anyways. But it's that combination of commonality with the cybersecurity incidences and the strong market presence that is like, transparency is the best way to go, right? So the MoveIt attack that just hit the Schwab TD merger is, I think, what you would call a supply chain attack.
Okay.
So it didn't attack, and everybody do your own fact checking, by the way. This is all just off the top of my head from reading headlines and half of articles. But MoveIt is a tool that helps migrate the data from one platform to another. As you mentioned, MoveIt is very popular. The TD and Schwab merger and data migration was a completely expectable event. So of course, the all financial hackers, or any what they now call advanced persistent threats, I think, APT, which are state-sponsored hackers and things like, with deep hacking organizations with deep pockets and deep support. So of course, the merger's announced. Anybody can reasonably expect that the platforms are going to be merged or data is going to be migrated. And then, the database admins and the hackers that know pretty well what the tool sets are going to be, right? So as soon as you hear the merger announced, you're an APT group. What do? You start banging on the tools that are going to be used for that migration to look for what are called zero-day attacks. And zero-day attacks are vulnerabilities in software that are not yet, that don't have a patch available.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe this is what happened. I don't know if they did they exfil data or not. I'm not current on whether or not they were.
Yeah. So this article comes from Investment News. It says Schwab estimates approximately 0.5% of Ameritrade's clients were affected. That could mean up to 55,000. The Move It hack has already claimed some pretty big victims with CalPERS, Genworth Financial, also First Source Bank, First Merchants, Deutsche Bank, ING, Shell, British Airways, TomTom, University of Colorado.
But here's the key, though. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't sound like they know if any data was exfilled. It's more like it's like, oh my! You ever go to bed with the door unlocked and wake up in the morning and go, oh shoot, I forgot to lock the door last night. It sounds like that was that was like the style of a hack. I could be wrong. Again, I didn't do a deep analysis of the event, but it says right there, promptly responding to the potential security breach. TD, and I'm reading that on the top paragraph. Promptly responding to the potential security breach, TD Ameritrade ceased using MoveIt and promptly informed law enforcement. Simultaneously, an investigation was initiated to determine the scope of the breach. So it's, they just detected a zero-day vulnerability. So it's like it's almost like they checked all the knobs in the software and they're like, oh, this one's unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
That's an oversimplification. So was data exfilled? I don't know. Was data accessed? I don't know. That their investigation will find that. But at least they seem to identify the scope is. I mean, I hate to say 55,000 is a lot of people. I hope I'm not among that group, but it doesn't feel like, at least immediately reporting, they're not saying accounts were changed or there was a significant exfiltration of data, which
And at the bottom it says Russian-based group I guess it's CI0P, which claimed responsibility for the attack, has already published Shell, meaning Shell PLC's data on the dark web after the company failed to pay a ransom.
So but that's not this Schwab TD hack.
Correct.
The MoveIt hack has already claimed some big scalps. The biggest U.S. pension fund capers, blah, 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 have boasted compromised some of the compromises companies that have been affected by the MoveIt already, and those are listed there. So I don't mean to create a narrow scope, but at least in the context of the TD Schwab migration, we don't yet know if any data was exfilled.
Yeah. All right.
But interesting stuff.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point about the stigma no longer being what it used to. It used to be, some companies you're afraid of might not report things because, oh gosh, if we report this, it could be bad for business or whatever. I think that's kind of gone. You almost assume that if you're a large company, you're going to get targeted, or a company you use is going to be targeted, or whatever it's about.
Yeah, I mean, their compulsory reporting varies based on the industry and the size of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always forget what that high 90% number is of businesses that are small businesses in America. But all of those people all of those businesses have probably some limited compulsory reporting. Although I think some states are starting to talk about compulsory reporting in security incidences. Still, it's not uniform. It's a bigger impact for a small business who has to report to a few hundred clients, especially professional businesses, or like a law firm, for example, which we have many clients of. That's embarrassing if you have to. What's really going to be embarrassing is I don't want to keep using this one firm as an example, but real estate attorneys are being heavily targeted because they have kind of one button high dollar transactions, right? Like one event is a significant dollar transaction, and a real estate attorney just deals with that all month. That is their core transaction. What you don't want to get caught doing is being completely negligent when it comes to your cybersecurity posturing, which means not hiring an IT company or a qualified IT company to at least make some reasonable effort to mitigate any losses or anything like that. So
the amount of fake spoofing emails I got, like under the DocuSign or document, it's gone up like exponentially. Like even the last month or so, it's just been nonstop. And I have to take a close look at those. I mean, I know what's going on in the DocuSign because I'm preparing those on the other side. So if it says, John Smith has completed his form, click here to download his account form. Well, if I don't have a client named John Smith, I obviously know it's spam right away. And I know what the good ones look like, but if you were in a larger firm, I mean, those emails are getting a lot better and they take a lot of time to, really kind of go through.
Just this morning, our entire company got a high quality phishing attack on our payroll system. So everybody in the company got an email saying we detected that an unauthorized access to your account in the payroll company, and click here to update your password. And I captured that, and we are an IT company, and we one of the biggest security controls that every company, even if you're a solo, should have right now is a security awareness training product that continually offers you what are called micro trainings and kind of short up annualized trainings, and you can quantify and measure your training across your organization. But we're an IT company, and we still have some non-technical resources that lack a certain sophistication. And I quickly screen grabbed this and I forwarded it to the entire company, and I said, heads up, this is a high quality phishing attack. And some of the staffers who were a little more vulnerable, I think, came back and said, oh, thanks for the heads up. You know what I mean? Which is like, ooh.
I know. Yeah, it's scary stuff. You see how it could affect small shop with 5 or 6 people, or some of these attorney firms and high turnover and people work from home. I mean, that's a factor too. Maybe a few years ago, you'd yell down the hallway, hey, everybody ignore the email that just came in, where you kind of miss that when everybody's
yeah. And with the advent of SaaS, what SaaS is, right? Software as a service, which basically is software in a web browser, for lack of better definition. And there's a new security product called an enterprise web browser that's kind of coming around the corner. There's two major vendors coming out. There's one called Talon Security and another one called Island.io. I've made contact with Island.io and reviewed the product. It's really amazing. It's built on the Chromium browser technology, which is what basically every browser except for Safari uses now to render the web, which is nice because it's a unified platform. So Microsoft just abandoned their proprietary rendering engine and adopted the Chromium, for example. So Microsoft Edge and Chrome and Firefox and maybe Opera and some of the other fringe ones out there all kind of look the same now, with the exception of Safari, Apple Safari. So anyways, these enterprise browsers are really an exciting space for me to watch as a security professional, because the browser, I can see a lot of businesses where they're like, well, my phone and my business practice software and my accounting software, all of the tools, my word processing, it's all in a web browser now. So we don't need to provide company issued computers or VPN into a network anymore. Add to that the work from home. I mean, it's kind of like a ripe environment for web-borne attacks. And these two companies, I think we needed an enterprise browser 15 years ago, quite frankly. And I'm shocked that Microsoft and Google did not produce a product in this space that companies could really lock down and control the in and out of flows from the web. Google did to a certain extent with their Chromebooks. Remember those Chromebooks?
Sure.
So that was a piece of hardware that just ran the Chrome web browser, and it does have a enterprise management interface and paradigm, but you can't control the Chrome browser. It's limited, but this company Island and Talon really have said, okay, corporations and MSPs like me can really create a walled garden for all web traffic. And then if you combine that with some other additional security mechanisms and stuff, you can say like your company can only log into its SaaS products through this browser. Wow. And then the browser has technology called DLP, data loss protection, which will try to detect the exfiltration of data from your SaaS products. So it's really exciting space. But the only thing that's not exciting is, to, again, 90% of small businesses in America, that the value of that security control is only somewhere between $10 and $30 a month.
Right.
And Island to get started with Island with your company, it's a $200,000 minimum purchase.
Oh my goodness.
So they're really targeting those deep pocketed enterprise right now. And I've talked to them, I'm like, you guys, if you could just make this self-provisioning and available to MSPs and what we call the channel, which is the resale channel for us to sell software through. So I could just put this on all of our clients, but they're like, yeah, we're trying to get to the bottom end of the market, but I think they're just not there yet. And Talon, I don't know what Talon's doing. I can't get anybody on the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was just pull up their site. I was looking around. I don't see, they got a mobile, the extension, their browser, but nothing related to fees or anything like that.
I can't get a demo of the product. I try to use their Calendly scheduler on their website, and it's always like a month out, and then I booked it, and then like it got canceled or something. So it's like, and they just announced $100 million in funding, and Island has, I think, $150 million in funding. So the security industry is definitely recognizing this. But I don't mean to get on a tangent about it, but it's an interesting space. You'll see me talk about. I'm waiting for the headline that Microsoft and/or Google announces a corporate web browser or an enterprise browser.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of Microsoft's history, right? Let the other products get out there and see what or they just buy one of these companies, but then they've got to deal with all their antitrust stuff, which they've had to go through with Activision and all that.
Right.
Well, what else is on our list here? How about Twitter and X? We can switch up to that a little bit.
Yeah, we can go on the consumer side. So honestly, I couldn't tell if Elon was trolling everybody for the last 48 hours or if this was real. But evidently, I checked this morning just before we connected, and I guess they are Elon is rebranding Twitter as X.
Yeah.
Do you have a headline or anything, or do you have anything off?
No, I did the same thing. I saw the CNBC article yesterday, and then went to twitter.com and saw the X there. The apps haven't been updated yet, as I looked yesterday. So
did you know that you can go to x.com and it resolves to twitter.com?
Yeah, see, I tried that yesterday, and that didn't work for me. But now. Yeah, see, this says x.com is parked free, courtesy of GoDaddy.com. That's the message I just got. But
oh, you got something going on. Something's going on. Either your browser is injecting an extra .com at the end.
Oh, okay.
You're going to x.com.com, or you have a DNS intermediary that is way slow in propagating DNS changes.
Right.
Try clearing the address bar all the way and then manually typing x.com.
Yeah.
Would you use an Edge?
Yes. Yeah. Is the app updated on Android? When you go to Twitter, do you still have the blue birds, or do you have
Still have the blue bird. Yeah, I still have the blue bird. I don't know if there's an app. There's probably an app update on my iPhone. I don't know. So we're dragging our feet on the idea, but basically he's rebranded, and he did announce X.com a month or two ago,
Yeah.
and so it's not a total shock,
No, and
but
if you go way back to 20 years, I mean, that was the original 25 years, maybe that was the original kind of PayPal model, as they were going to be a financial services company and it was going to be X. He's always had this obsession with the idea of X, the letter X. I mean, you've got SpaceX, you've had the Tesla Model X, so it's kind of an Elon thing, so no surprise there. But
right.
we've talked about it before, the idea of using X.com as a payment system, as sort of being that one app for everything, messaging, and even to the extent of banking or all that kind
How
of stuff.
much do you think this is 2012 Elon playing 4D chess, as they say? Like, is this just like a seed that has not yet flowered, but it has to go through this whole thing where the whole time everybody's like, that thing's not going to grow.
I know. I think there is some of this that's always kind of been in the back of his mind, that, we have those projects where like something didn't work out and you move on, and it's always kind of in the back of your head, if I had done this, or maybe I was just too early. A lot of times that happens in tech, right? It's
Yep,
the right product, they're just a little bit too early or
for sure.
whatever. So I think he's always kind of had this, and I think he'd love to turn Twitter into X.com and make it all these other things, and so he can go back to those people from 25 years ago and say, "See, I told you, we're
Well,
just
what
early."
function? I mean, I get convergence. I mean, Facebook has. Did you? I don't know if you knew this or not or care, but Facebook Facebook Messenger was a function of the Facebook app. And
Mhm.
again, I say this on mobile, right? You would open Facebook on your phone. You would go to the messages section of the app to check your messages.
Right,
And then I don't know, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, like Zuck made headlines because they peeled out the Messenger as a separate app from Facebook. Do you
right,
remember? Do you remember that?
sure,
Well, did you know that they have now reincorporated? They brought it back into Facebook over the
yeah,
last, I don't know, 6 months or something.
yep. And it always says I have an unread message when I don't. That's a big,
So I
always.
guess my point is like, function convergence is not a new concept. You know what I
No,
mean? Like you can have the Swiss Army knife app, and in fact, I'm kind of ignorant to the Chinese market at large, but my understanding is they have what, Baidu, or
yeah,
they have a Google like company. I think it's Baidu that is kind of like that Swiss Army knife kind of concept where it's like Amazon and Google. You're shopping. It's a pay portal or payment method or something.
mhm,
So if that's his angle, where he's going X.com, simple, clean app, free speech, payment portal. I mean, I don't know. It's not. I don't want to. I'm not poo pooing it. I'm just kind of reacting to present value. It doesn't seem like there's any innovation there.
no, and I think part of it is maybe he feels at this time that the Twitter brand itself is not that great, after he did the blue check mark stuff, and you know, people begrudgingly use Twitter, I think, because it's where their following is, it's where the action is. It's, people have built obviously whole businesses on Twitter, so they're not going to, just stop tweeting and move over to Threads. But I think the kind of Twitter brand is not what it used to be. So he figures, well, the heck with it. If I can change it to something
Nah,
else and use this to rebrand
brand,
a little
brands
bit.
have brands have more staying power than that. They're not that disposable. I mean, a whole market. I hear what you're saying, because that is the scene. I think that's the large media perpetuating this anti-Elon um, undercurrent. Like, he's doing unpopular things, and the media is really magnifying that, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how many of his interviews you've watched, but I mean, he's kind of a douchebag, but he's kind of like, at the same time, an unconventional CEO and business billionaire, right? I mean,
Mhm.
he which is kind of refreshing in a lot of ways, but like they just grab certain things and they just amplify that as media does. You know what I mean? So I mean, he did hand over the reins to a new CEO at Twitter. She could have resurrected the brand cachet or the brand love. I think it's not possible. Maybe you're right. I don't know if that's the thing. I think I would bet that there's some sort of 4D chess happening instead.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you said, even if it's just, hey, we're going to be a payment model too.
Yeah. And I think his what was I going to say here? The changing of the when you tweet something out, people know what that is. Nobody's going to change that to I X'd something out, or did you read my latest X's? Like that doesn't. He started to use that terminology, but that doesn't make any sense. It makes it hard for people to kind of communicate what that is, right?
I have daughters, and my wife is dragging my oldest daughter into like we're starting to cover a lot of like 90s pop music and movies and stuff. And so the older one and my wife are on Mean Girls.
Okay.
Have you watched the movie Mean Girls?
I haven't, no.
So it's hilarious for its time, but there's this kind of airhead. There's three girls and they're kind of a clique, and there's one of them who's kind of like the token airhead, and she tries to get a new word to catch on, and the word is fetch.
Yes.
And so when she responds to an event or a happening or something, she's like, "Oh, that's so fetch." And then one of the mean girl of the trio goes, I forgot her name, Bridget or whatever. Bridget, fetch is not catching on. Stop trying to catch. Fetch is not going to be a thing. So stop using fetch. Yeah. So anyways, that invokes that idea. So he's going to change tweet to X.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to catch on, but it just makes it tough to say. But what else is on our list here? So we've got so Microsoft, the Copilot, the $30. The market seemed to like that. The stock market, at least, has helped the stock. So that was their announcement that they're going to roll this out across their platforms, which we talked
lay
about
out the
before,
detail of that so the audience knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. So Copilot is the idea that it's going to be there on the side of the screen to help you write emails, to help you with your Excel spreadsheet.
Well, give it more foundation, right? So OpenAI is a nonprofit that invented ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. They then did this weird move where a nonprofit can form a limited for-profit. You would know better than me, the limited for-profit, and Microsoft is a significant investor in that limited for-profit. So in short, basically Microsoft and OpenAI are in bed together. And to everybody's surprise, Microsoft is running headfirst into leveraging OpenAI into their key software suites, and they made headlines, and we talked about it at length about they brought OpenAI and ChatGPT into their search engine, Bing, which apparently has been a popular move. I still don't use it, but so they announced that they were going to bring OpenAI ChatGPT into their famous Microsoft Office 365 suite. The brand of that is going to be called Copilot. I think last week or two they had a product announcement or something, and they announced Copilot was going to be $30 a month per user. So that's the foundation go.
Yeah, and so for people that have been using the paid version of ChatGPT, that's about $20 a month. So I guess you're looking at what's that?
I didn't know that. Did you sign up for that? Is there any value there?
I did, because they gave you early access to the plugins and also GPT-4, whereas the free version was on 3.5. So they continue to try to add some features to the paid version. What I have noticed, though, is the paid version doesn't give you any more uptime. A lot of times when you go on to ChatGPT, it's down, or they can't log you in at the moment. So my wife was on the paid version, and she kept getting the error message that it was down, and she's like, well, what am I?
Wow,
she's on the paid version, so she's like, well, what am I paying for if they're not going to let me in? So she switched back to the free version. So I was on it. I just wanted to try the plugins, and I was curious about the coding stuff, which wasn't as good in the 3.5 as it supposedly was with the 4. So so that was kind of interesting. I'll probably, I don't know, we'll see if when the Copilot becomes available, I might switch over to that, or just cancel paid version altogether. I don't know.
This is really interesting to me. First of all, I didn't know that there was a paid version, $20. Second of all, I didn't know that you signed up for it and tried it. When Microsoft announced Copilot $30 a month per user, I got to tell you, I was kind of shocked. I still don't use ChatGPT, but maybe once every couple weeks. It's not part of my daily driver. It's not my daily tool set. I still pull the mobile app I have on my phone. I used it a couple times and it was fun. I now seem to use it whenever I want to show the novelty of it to a non-technical, or what I call it, normal.
Yeah.
I do get that there's two things at play here. Microsoft probably doesn't want to go with this model of, well, we'll charge $1 a month for 365 users or $5 a month. They probably don't want to start small and then increase the price of it as the value increases, where they can flip that pyramid and say, okay, early adopters will fund the future development and research of this. And then maybe as the value and the ease of use gets integrated and things get ironed out, maybe they can start dropping that price. Although I can see that as the product becomes developed and more mature, the value does increase to a typical data worker or knowledge worker. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they figure if they can integrate it so well that it almost becomes a must-have, and it's if they can, potentially get people with like a teaser, kind of incorporate it, maybe roll it out for people for like 3 months and make it such a part of the daily routine of function that people will use, then people will have to stick to it. I guess that's probably the idea. I think also there's some concern about bundling. That's been a conversation to where a company like Microsoft can put out something like Teams and just kind of incorporate it in an existing subscription model so that they can, put that in without having people pay, which on its surface sounds like a good idea and sound like good for consumers, but it's a way to push things into an existing product, which they've got in trouble for before. So right. I can see why they're being smart and not just saying, we're going to include this in 365 and up everybody's subscription by $2. So I see why they're doing this separate, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, and then the value of software as a service is really interesting. A lot of normals don't see value in this way, but if Copilot saves an employee an hour of work producing some report or document, it just 1 month that exceeds the value of that tool, and that's really that's the calculus there. So, and all of the tools, I look at my monthly spend on SaaS products in my organization, and sometimes my head spins. I can't believe the amount of money that I spend. But then you look at the sheer work volume and the quality that we're able to maintain with these tools, and you start peeling these back. You go, oh man, the value of the tool exceeds what we're paying for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. And then the question becomes, especially for smaller organizations, or I guess big ones too, is what do you do with that extra capacity? If you're adding 20% of productivity to your workforce, can they, do you cut their hours back to 35 hours a week from 40? Do you cut your staff back? Do you give them more work?
The age-old the debate that you and I seem to circle regularly. Yeah. I mean, the reality is it's both. Right, the cost of goods will go down, labor will contract in size. I mean, it's a
new jobs will be created to fill that void.
Say again.
And new jobs will be created.
To fill that, exactly. New knowledge workers will be created to new roles for new knowledge workers that Yeah, exactly. So, and if you believe in what technology, what the capital and quality of life technology has been doing for the last 200 years to society, you'll continue to say, okay, well, it's a net benefit. You've heard that expression too in the context of society, and yes, those short-term pains for long-term gains overall.
Yeah, and that's the big picture, and how that filters through to the local law firm that has, one attorney, one assistant. The one assistant works 40 hours a week. Today on July 25th, they're filling that 40 hours a week with something on, well, not maybe December 25th, but we'll say January 25th of next year. That 40 hours of work will probably be 35 hours of work. So how does that, at the big picture, yes, it will all work itself out. But the question is, some of these smaller firms are already starting to have those conversations, especially when work from home is at play. You're like, well, wait a minute, I was paying for 40 hours a week. They're now doing the same amount or maybe a little bit more. And I know it's only taking them 35. So what's the solution there? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It will work itself out. All right, let's call it there. We're at 55 minutes. We are Finance and Technology Insights. We record every Tuesday when we're not ill or on vacation. My name is Eric Durendorf. I'm the CEO and CIO of Evernet Consulting, a national IT service provider, managed service provider. You can find us at evernetco.com or evernetco on any major social platform.
And I'm Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting, Connecticut-based independent investment advisory firm. We work with individuals and small businesses on their investment needs. And we will see you next Tuesday.
We'll see you next Tuesday.